Now that we've reviewed some example questions from Bloom's taxonomy, take a minute to think about how you study and how you prepare for tests. Do you study term and definition? Do you actually try to understand the concept or be able to apply it? Can you analyze the material, evaluate, or actually use what you know to create something new? Now, let's take a look at how we put information from our studying into our long-term memory. Putting information into our long-term memory is a process. We can see or hear something that we can remember for a short period of time. But when studying for a midterm, we need to remember a lot of details, and we need to study at different levels of learning, as we just reviewed with Bloom's taxonomy. Timing is everything. The amount of content you are responsible for learning is high. It is important to consistently review course content so your brain has more opportunities to move information from your working memory to your long-term memory. Teach your brain what's important to remember by establishing a routine to review your course content throughout the term, after class, each week, or even bi-weekly. Think about learning a new language. Just learning the new words once or twice is not enough. You need to use the words consistently to not only remember them, but how to use them when you need them. It is also important to stay on top of your learning because trying to catch up in a hurry before each midterm is nearly impossible, not to mention stressful. How fast can you read 30 pages? Each chapter in your SMF textbook is about 30 pages. Meet Joe. It takes Joe roughly 3 hours to read one chapter. That's not including the time he spends to quiz himself on the content or make notes. Just reading. Joe is responsible for understanding and remembering the content of 6 chapters for the upcoming midterm, but he hasn't kept up with his readings. Will Joe be able to find 18 hours in his schedule the week before the midterm to read his textbook, in addition to reviewing and quizzing himself on lecture or textbook content and staying on top of his other courses? Let's take a look at something that might help. This is the curve of forgetting. There has been a lot of research on why we forget and how to remember things more efficiently. The research on the curve of forgetting shows us that when we learn something today, what we remember from today in 24 hours will be almost 100%. But by day 2, what we remember from that information, if we don't look at it again, will be almost 50%. And over time, or the course of that week, by day 7, what we remember from day 1 will actually be 20%. By reviewing for 5 to 10 minutes a night within 24 hours, the retention stays higher. The retention is almost 80 to 90% of that material. But what's awesome is that by day 7, it only takes you 5 to 10 minutes to review that material again to bring your retention of that material back up to that 80% mark. What's even better is by the time the midterm comes, after 30 days, the research shows us that it should only take 2 to 4 minutes to bring the material back to memory, and your retention of that should be quite high, up to 80%. A small commitment to reviewing your course content can make a big difference. Without consistent review, by the time the next SMF midterm rolls around, you will have to relearn a lot of course content. Next, let's think about where to study for our midterms. Take a second. Where do you do most of your studying? Where you do your studying can have a really big impact on your learning. It is always recommended to have at least 2 favorite study locations, on campus and/or off campus, and to use these study spots for only studying. You want to associate being focused, getting work done, and learning in your study location. When studying, consider what conditions create an ideal study environment for you. What's the lighting like? The desk space, temperature of the room, seating arrangement, noise level. These things all can impact how much you can focus and how much you can get done. It's always not recommended that you use your bed for studying, as you want to associate it with sleeping, not school stress. It is really important to also remove your biggest distractions from your study spot. Changing your focus constantly from one task to another is disruptive to the cognitive process. Removing distractions like cell phones, notifications, or even certain websites can help you stay on task during your study time. When planning a study time, make sure you plan ahead and have all the supplies, resources, refreshments that you need to get in the zone before you start studying. Consider doing some practice questions in a location that mimics the test environment. This may help you feel more prepared and lower your anxiety.